You know what really bothers me, Sammy, is that I have met a lot of now. Obviously, we had James Jones on last week. James Jones, great interview, obviously, but he's a friend of mine. Like he's a friend. Like I saw him during Super Bowl week, and we were just chit chatting, like out in the streets of New Orleans, just like a couple of buddies who know each other, and we're talking about each other's kids and how sports are going and all that stuff. And not even about it wasn't even the normal like when you get in, when you leave it. No, no, no. It was just like, hey, how are the kids? How are the boys? And like that and stuff, and talking about his new show on Fox. So we meet Jermichael Finley, and similarly, oh, what a delightful human being he was. And I'm like, I'm really getting sick of how much I like some of these former Packers. AJ Hawk, James Jones, and now add Jermichael Finley to the list. We're going to take a listen to a couple of the clips from him. Very special edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam. Let's start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
And whereas James Jones was a noted Bears killer, I think James Jones, what he has, like 30 career touchdowns, 28 of them again. He probably had 50. James Jones had some great years. Jermichael Finley, what was it, 2011? He had a 3-touchdown game at Chicago. Unbelievable. This guy was a Bears killer. And we talked about it. And that great rivalry. I know Aaron Nagler and some of these other guys. No, Nags is good about it. I know some people don't think that it's much of a rivalry right now, but the Bears, undefeated against Green Bay this season. Caleb Williams has not lost the game ever in Lambeau Field. Let's listen to Jermichael Finley talking about the rivalry between the Bears and the Packers.
Like the Bears-Packers rivalry. I know that you guys had the upper hand, so to speak. Obviously won the NFC Championship game in Chicago. What was that rivalry like for you?
It was awesome, man. One thing that the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers game was, there was a ton of history behind it. And when we played them guys, it was hard-nosed football getting played because it's two teams that hate each other, literally. And every time we went to Chicago, that was one of my favorite cities, not just because of the play or I love the Soldier Field, beating the mess out of them, but just going there, shopping, going there, just the atmosphere in Chicago, and the cold didn't bother me, but going to Chicago was one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, of course, when you're scoring touchdowns at will against the Chicago Bears, it is going to be a lot of fun for you, Jermichael Finley. But I like that he appreciates the history, and it's one of the most historical rivalries in the NFL. When you think about the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys, I think any one of those teams in the NFC East would consider themselves like huge rivals of the Dallas Cowboys. The thing of it is like it changes year to year. If the Commanders aren't good or the Giants aren't good, the rivalry doesn't seem to matter. With the Bears and the Packers, I think it always matters, and I think it always matters, especially to Chicago. It always matters. Even in the 80s, I know my dad always talked about, like, I didn't care about the Packers. It's like, you did. Like, because Ditka talks about it. He still doesn't like the Packers, although he was playing against the Packers when they were really good. So I love that they do that. And I love hearing it from the other side. And I love that the Green Bay players buy into it. Not so much that Jermichael Finley was killing us each and every season, but I do like that he does appreciate the history and everything that was going on. Before we get to the final clip, though, I do want to remind everybody that this is all possible thanks to our friends at Windy City Sports Cards. That's right. At Windy City Sports Cards, we specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky, or Fire, we have got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. And if for whatever reason you want a Jermichael Finley card, if you want a James Jones autographed hoodie, hit up my friend Mike at Windy City Sports Cards. They have got you covered all over the place And he really does such a great job. We're also working on some things. Hopefully we'll have a lot more stuff to talk about here in the future. But we got one more thing. Jermichael Finley did weigh in on Caleb Williams, was interested to get his perspective. Sammy, let's go ahead and roll that.
Now, Caleb Williams has never lost in Lambeau Field, but we don't need to talk about that.
Oh, look at you. Hey, guess what? It's the first for everything. So I think, and like with that, Caleb Williams is a natural born talent. He was a guy that just, he got it. He has that it factor. And I think Chicago Bears all going into the green.
Yeah, you know what? That's one of the things too. And we're hearing that more and more from players. It's about the it factor and what he's good at and what he brings to the table. Now, obviously, Caleb Williams has got a lot of things to work on. We talked about this with Brian Baldinger, and Ryan Leaf was very critical of some of the things that Caleb Williams has been doing wrong. However, we should recognize that Caleb Williams does a lot of things right, and he's got intangibles that you just can't teach. And as much fun as it was to watch Jaden Daniels go out there and tear up the league in his insanity run this season, Drake May looked pretty good, and we don't know what we're going to get out of J.J. McCarthy yet. Caleb Williams, to me, is still the number one guy. He is still going to be the person that we're going to look at and be like, he was number one for a reason. The Bears focused in on Caleb Williams, and this is not a knock on Jaden Daniels. And I know that all the Commander fans feel like Jaden Daniels is already enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But the thing of it is, it's what you do moving forward. It's similar to the conversation about Patrick Mahomes, whether he's the GOAT or not. It's like, okay, well, you got to this point, Patrick. You've matched Tom Brady here. Now it's moving forward. Similarly, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then eventually J.J. McCarthy. You've got to this point, and it's great. And you did great rookie seasons from those first three guys. To do now? How do you answer the challenge? How do you answer the bell? What happens when the spotlight of the NFL is upon you? Because when you look at Caleb Williams, even though he didn't go out there and win Rookie of the Year, there is still something about him that if you're an opposing player and a coach scheming against him or anything like that, you are still going to try to limit Caleb Williams and go after him. And like Jermichael Finley said, there was something about the it factor with Caleb Williams that he has that other guys do not have. Things that you cannot teach. And hopefully Ben Johnson will be able to focus in and get Caleb Williams ready to roll and be the quarterback that we all expect him to be. He was good his rookie season. Can he take that next step? I truly believe that he can. Some of the players around the league and football players from around the league also see the same thing. So thanks so much for tuning in to this very special edition of the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. We do hope that you enjoyed these little snippets from the Super Bowl. It's our clip show. It was the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. And Sammy, why don't you go ahead and play us out?
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.